Okay, hi and welcome. We're going to do note 6.3 today, which is focusing on standard form. If we recall, we should see from our previous notes that we learned the slope-intercept form, which is where y was isolated, right? We solve for it, get it by itself, and it's equal to slope times the x, or the variable, plus the y-intercept. Standard form is another form that we can use for definitely good for making quick graphs. Okay, it's really good for making graphs. Here's what standard form looks like. Instead of having y isolated by itself in slope-intercept form like we do up here, if we come down here and look at standard form, you'll notice that y and x, with whatever values go in front of it, are on the same side. Okay, they're on the same side. So instead of solving for y to get in slope-intercept form, we put y and x on the same side and we solve for c. And that form is great for graphing. It's really easy because what we're going to use is graphing by the x and y-intercepts. Okay, let's talk about that just a little bit here. Okay, so x and y-intercepts, the easiest way to remember that is we've been talking about the y-intercept. And we said that the y-intercept always has a 0 for its x-coordinate. And I mean, if we look at it visually, let's draw a quick little sketch here. So I'm going to make a coordinate plane, really poorly one because it's a little difficult down here. But here's my coordinate plane. If I have an y-intercept, it means it's on the y-axis, which means that it doesn't have any values of x. We don't go right any, and we don't go left any. So it's 0 for its coordinate, and it'll fall somewhere on this y-axis. Let me write that in there. All right. Now, for the x-intercept, it's the same thing, just kind of the reverse. The reverse being that there's no, and you can see it here, right? Right here is where I'm at. 0 for the y-coordinate. So that means I'm not up or down now, right? I have no values up and no values down for my y-coordinate. So that means I'll fall somewhere on the x-axis. Now we're going to use those to help us graph. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump down here a bit. And we're going to do this problem down here in the graph. We're going to skip those first couple examples. And we're going to jump right down here to graphing it. Okay, so we're going to take this first one, 2x plus 3y equals 12. Again, notice x and its coefficient are on the left with y and its coefficient, and the constant, oops, let me get rid of that. The constant is all by itself on the right. Doesn't matter if it's on the left or right, but the constant needs to be by itself. Again, the form ax plus by equals c. So here's how we're going to graph. Let me scoot this down a little bit, and so we can have a little room to write. What we're going to do is we're going to start by finding the x-intercept. I'm going to find the x-intercept. I'm going to label it x-intercept. Okay, because I want to make sure I know what I'm finding, because they look kind of close. So I want to make sure that I've got it really clear. So I've got x-intercept. To find the x-intercept, remember, for any x-intercept, we have a 0 for the y-coordinate. Okay, so we're going to actually do that. We're going to take and plug 0 in right here, where this y value is. Let's write that out the first time. Let's see what that looks like. So 2, I don't know what x is. That's what I'm trying to find. That's my unknown. Plus 3 times here's 0, because I'm looking for the intercept. So I know that part is 0. And I'm going to equal 12. Well, what's 3 times 0? Looking at this, that's easy. That's 0. It drops out. So really what happens is I'm left with this 2x on the left. This turns to 0. I'm not even going to bother to write it, and it's going to be equal to 12. 2x equals 12. Well, gosh, it doesn't get much simpler than that to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 2. And I'm going to find out that x is equal to 6. Now, be very cautious with this. X equals 6 looks like a solution, looks like a value we solve for, but remember what it is. So don't forget that. Remember that that is an intercept, and you need to label it correctly. So when we go to describe this, we want to make sure that we write it the right way. It has to have a 0 for its y-coordinate and then 6 for its x-coordinate. So that's actually what we just found, 6, 0. Well, if you couldn't tell already, that's how we're going to graph. We're going to go to 6, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's my point. Okay, so that's my x-intercept. So far, so good. And let's go back and find the y-intercept in the same fashion. Let me close this back up. So the y-intercept, again, I'm going to label it. Okay, so I'm finding the y-intercept. I'm going to remind myself what that looks like. It's got a 0 for the x-coordinate this time. I'm reminding myself that I'm going to plug in 0 this time for the x. So let's rewrite that equation. But really, in my class, if I was there, I'd take my finger, if I had a finger, and I'd cover up the 2x. Because if we plug in 0 for x, it just disappears. So I can just put my finger over it and then solve what's left. So I'm going to pretend I'm doing that. So here's my finger. I'm covering up 2x. I'm going to write what's left. 3y equals 12. I can solve that pretty easily. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides, and y is equal to 4. Again, I need to be cautious. You need to remember that that isn't just a number and I'm done, that that's an intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and write it correctly. And for your homework, you're to do the same. You need to write it correctly. So I'm going to write 0, 4. Well, I only need 2 points to graph a line, and I've already got one on the table, and I just found the other one. So let's plot this one. I'm going to go up 4. Here's 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my point. And now if I switch over to red color here, I can draw my line. And that was quicker and easier, I think, because especially when you get to cover up half of the problem, quicker and easier than graphing with slope-intercept form. All right, so there's your first half of your notes for this section, and I'll do a quick little another one to accompany this, and you can be done, and we'll work in class tomorrow. All right, we'll see you in class.